Doing business in Brazil is not for beginners. Actually, the World Bank ranks Brazil 132nd in terms of easiness of doing business. And that is due to several factors. The first one is plenty of red tape. If not alone, Brazil has a well-known problem of corruption, which recently has caused several protests in the country. On top of it, Brazil ranks 153rd among 156 emerging markets in terms of a tax burden. With all that, doing business in Brazil is expensive and hard. But despite all that, what happened was that from 2002 through 2011, there was a huge increase on Brazilian domestic GDP. It actually went from $500 million to $2.5 billion. But despite that, we haven't had growth at the same level in the whole period. Actually, from 2003 through 2007, growth was much stronger. Then we had the global financial crisis in 2008, which slowed down growth in Brazil. And most recently, on top of additional devaluation of the currency, which has happened in the last 1 year, we also had growth slowing down again, which has made doing business harder than it used to be. First, why Brazil was able to grow GDP as much? It benefited from several external factors. The first one was China increased the demand from raw materials, and Brazil is a huge exporter of raw materials. Just to give you an idea, Brazil trade balance in the agribusiness went from $9 billion in 2002 to $89 billion in the last 12 months. And that also meant that Brazil's countryside has grown more than the rest of the country, which basically has created new challenges in terms of distribution, as consumers that used to be concentrated only in the big cities now are all over the country. Additionally, Brazil also incorporated 57 million new consumers to the market in the last 7 years alone. That's according to Ipsos Institute. What that means is that more than the whole population of Italy has moved to the middle and upper classes socioeconomic strata in Brazil. That means more sales, more consumption, but at the same time, that happened because unemployment has fallen from 12% in 2002 to nearly 6% in 2010, and since then it has been relatively stable. As unemployment fell, wages increased, and that boosted consumption, but also increased the cost of production in Brazil. The negative is that if Brazil isn't able actually to boost production in the upcoming years, and that means more investment in infrastructure, more investment in labor productivity, and particularly in training, and more use of software and equipment, it's very unlikely that Brazil will be able to keep the rate of growth that we had in consumption in the last years. And that means that what we saw in the last couple of years, when GDP has grown less than 2%, and very likely this year GDP growth will not be higher than 2% either, that eventually should have more negative impact on retail sales if industrial production isn't able to keep pace with production. For that, there should be a change in economic policies in favor of policies that boost production. So far, policies have aimed at increased consumption, which basically means generating jobs, and at the same time boosting credit, which was a huge support to sales, particularly through 2007. Actually, in 2008, credit hasn't grown as much, and actually last year either. And this year, with interest rates going up to cope with rising inflation, very likely what we'll see is that credit will not grow as much, and that's one of the reasons why growth will not be as strong as it was in the recent past.